I saw people like passed out on cardboard boxes on the street, and I couldn't tell if they were homeless or club goers or both. Probably both. Hmm. Okay, we are live. I promised you I would recount my first night experience as a bottle girl or champagne girl, as they say here in Japan, in Tokyo, and I've come to deliver, okay? And I have to do this as a live stream format because, to be honest with you, I'm already kind of over it. Not champagne girling as a whole. I am currently in the process of planning another stint with my friend, the one that took me along with her. She's been in the industry for a while, like the nightlife industry. So she asked me like, hey, if you want to continue doing this, if you want to try again at a different club, maybe we can decide on a date in October. But yeah, let's talk about the 14th, right? Which is when I was on duty with my friend. It was just the two of us at the VIP booth on the second floor of a club in Shinjuku called Warp, which I've heard about before, but I've never actually been to Warp personally. So it's my first time there. It was ghetto. Like, it was the ghetto, you guys.
The ghetto! The ghetto.
I had this whole plan to make a pre-filmed video, like make it really high quality. Well, high quality, my version of high quality. But I took all this B-roll footage, and then after it was done, I was just like, you know what? It's not even worth it. I'm just gonna go live stream. And later on, if I feel like downloading the live stream and editing a little bit, I will do that. But yeah, it was the ghetto. And I'm talking about, I think it mostly had to do with the club and the area in general. So Warp Shinjuku is in Kabukicho, which is, if you know anything about Japan, that's basically the red light district of Tokyo. But it's also kind of like a very popular tourist spot because it's kind of weird. Japan has like, it's called Mizu Shobai. It translates to the water industry in English. So it's like S work, but not without the actual act of sex being sold, right? So all these, even I personally would consider something like maid cafes to be part of Mizu Shobai because it's basically like selling, company, the ability to be in close proximity to beautiful young women, sometimes like really young girls. Well, I don't know for maid cafes if you have to be technically an adult to work in those places. I feel like no, which is crazy if that's true. Like, I'm hoping that you have to be an adult, but I don't think you have to because it's technically not salacious, but it still falls under that category, in my opinion. Some people might want to debate this. Anyway, how do we get on this topic? Yeah, so that's Kabukicho, right? It's the red light district. It's historically been for that purpose in Tokyo, but nowadays it's kind of like a modern day tourist attraction because they also have Toho cinemas there. That's the one with a big Godzilla peeking out between the buildings. I myself sometimes go to the movie theater there. If I'm in Shinjuku, I think like those of you that watch my channel, or if you follow up on my live streams and some of my movie reviews, you'll know that my favorite theater is actually Walt 9 in Shinjuku. So that's a little bit, it's also near Shinjuku Station, but it's kind of like separated, far removed from that Kabukicho area. So Walt 9 is in more of like the business street, and I like it better because it's much quieter and classier, and they had better merch there, honestly. Like the Toho Cinemas merch booth is always sold out, especially for the popular movies. So yeah. Anyway, so we went to not Walt 9. We went to Warp Shinjuku. This club was ghetto. Like, I'm sorry, take a shot every time I say the word ghetto in this video, because like immediately when I got there, I was like, oh no. I can already see how this is going to go down. The shift was from 12 to 4:30 a.m., which is actually not that bad. I don't know why. I was expecting something like a 6-hour shift at least, but it was like 4.5 hours, which is a lot to stand in your heels the whole time. Don't get me wrong. Like, by the end, I was definitely kind of glancing at, well, I couldn't glance at my watch because I don't have a watch, and I couldn't glance at my cell phone either because I didn't have my cell phone on me. I was literally just standing there in my bottle girl uniform, ready to serve the patrons that came into the VIP section. But it was manageable, right? It didn't feel like I was dying. I never worked a retail job full-time or even part-time before, but I had a job in the past, like when I first came to Japan, where it was a corporate setting, but it was the corporate office of like a department store type chain store. And so once in a while, we would have to go to the stores to like help out the staff that were actually on the floor doing the selling. So, like, during the busy seasons in particular, that was the rule at the company that I worked at when I first came to Japan, is that everyone in the company, regardless of their position, even if they worked in the corporate office, they would have to go at least a couple of days during the busy season to help the people out at the stores. I mean, for one thing, I think they really did need help. They needed backup during those times. Sorry, this is bothering me. I think they really needed help to deal with the influx of customers during those peak seasons, but also it was just a way to kind of like get everyone on the same page, like let everybody know the experience, the hecticness of working in the stores. And so where was I going with this anecdote? Oh yeah, so those shifts would be like actual full on 8-hour shifts for me, right? Because I was working in the corporate office for 8 hours a day. That's the standard there. And so it would be the same for me when I went to help out at the stores, which was actually very weird now that I think about it, because the people that worked at the stores as their normal job, they would never have an 8-hour shift, right? They would only work for 5 hours. But anyway, I just remember that was my only experience really in kind of like a customer service type job. The only other one that I had was a very, very brief part time stint at this cafe when I was in college, which wasn't really like a real job, come to think of it, because it was just in college town. And the guy that owned the cafe was like very friendly with the students. So I didn't really even have to work that hard. But yeah, I was the cashier, and those were 5 hour shifts. So I've never had a shift as short as 4.5 hours before. It's interesting because I thought like maybe it depends on the club. I'm sure it does, but my friend is already texting me a couple of options for the next night that we want to go. And it seems like these are also 4.5 hour shifts. So that's interesting. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not complaining about that. I don't want it to be any longer than 4.5 hours. Even like 4 hours, that's great. I'll do 4 hours, because nobody wants to be standing in heels for that long. But yeah, all things considered, it wasn't that bad. It was just kind of like, okay, I'll be honest. So in the first like 1 to 2 hours, I was not feeling it whatsoever. I was like, this is not my scene. First of all, that club is ghetto. Okay. It's so dirty. Like, it's just so gross. This can be said to some extent for all nightclubs, honestly, but I think it's just mostly the fact that Kabukicho is just like such a dirty, grimy area, even though it is a nice tourist place. Like, definitely if you visit Tokyo just for a vacation for like a week or two, definitely like check it out. I mean, you don't have to, but check it out at least for the Godzilla. Get a picture with the Godzilla in front of the movie theater, or like go shopping in that area, right? There's a lot of department stores and whatnot. But yeah, as far as Warp Shinjuku, 0 out of 10, do not recommend. It was just gross. It was a stark difference from, like, for sure the clubs that I went to in Dubai. Armani Hotel Dubai in the Burj Khalifa, that is a completely different universe than something like Warp Shinjuku. Um, the music was fire though. Oh my goodness. Wait. I'm just remembering this, and now I'm conflicted. Okay, because the music was actually fire. Like, all of the DJs that performed, I don't even know. I feel like they went through 5 or 6 DJs throughout the entire just one single night that I was there. But like every single one slapped. Okay, the DJ sets were amazing. I will say that. There was one point where I was standing. It's like the VIP booth is on the second floor, and it's kind of like a clear glass, partially glass, but then part of it is just like a balcony where you can actually reach your hand over the ledge if you wanted to. But yeah, it's like total, you can see through the entire wall because it's all glass to the crowd below. It's really not that big. So there's the crowd below and the DJ booth, and then like the dancing was amazing too. Okay, the performances, those were lit. I'm not even gonna hold you, but don't go to Warp Shinjuku because it's trash. It's like so trashy. But it was lit though. The DJ sets and the dancing. So I had my back faced to the glass most of the time, right? Because I was like leaning against, there was like a bar, and I was just like standing upright, leaning against it, watching as new customers came in, and if people needed champagne delivered to their tables, I would go with my friend, and then we would have this bell that we would ring, and then there would be I forget what it's called, like this light stick thing, light stick. Not like this is a K-pop concert or anything, but no, there would be this light stick thing where you attach it to the top of the bottle, and then some of them you would attach like a firework type of thing, so the one of the male staff would actually light it for us, and it would be sparklers, I think that's what they're called. So we would like hold it like this and then ring the bell and be like, woo, yay, here comes the champagne. But yeah, no, there was one point where like I heard one of the DJs, they played the theme song, not the theme song, but like the soundtrack music to Matrix Reloaded. I feel like nobody else knows this except for me, because like back in the day, that was really my jam. All that kind of like alternative rock punk rock music, whether it was English or European brands or Japanese brands. I was really, really into rock. That's how I identified. Like all of the Matrix movies, I actually went out and physically bought all the soundtracks to those movies because that was the type of sound that I liked, you know, the industrial rock, alternative rock sound. And so I don't remember the name of the song, but I feel like it was like a Hindi artist, or the song was originally Hindi and then maybe someone remixed it. But anyway, I heard somebody play that during one of their sets and like I nearly fell over backwards. Like I whipped around so fast, like who on this earth knows that song and gets lit to that song except for me, except for the 13-year-old me when Matrix Reloaded came out. So yeah, that was really cool. And no, the music was fire. But don't go to Warp Shinjuku, okay? Just look up the artists that are performing at Warp. So you can go to their Instagram page and look up the DJs that they're going to have as their guests. And then just go to other clubs that are better. Go to the other clubs that they're planning on performing at later. You know, if you want to see that DJ, like don't go to Warp Shinjuku because the club itself is trash. So yeah, what else? I need to tell you guys how much I made, right? It's very, very anticlimactic. That's kind of like the reason why I don't even feel like doing this video again at all. I had low expectations, to be honest with you, because like this is not, I don't know. I feel like the club industry, the nightlife industry is a little different in Japan than it would be, than something that you would imagine for like the States or something. I actually have no idea because I've never been to a club in the States. I never went to a nightclub until I was 30 years old, possibly even 31. Yeah, no, I think I was 31 when I first went to a nightclub. It was a V2 club in Roppongi. I don't even remember. But that was the first time that I actually stepped into a real nightclub and like spent an entire night out at the club. I've never done that once in the States, like not in college. We didn't have nightclubs where I went to university anyway. So, but I had low expectations because I knew that, I think it depends on the club again, but I feel like here, especially for champagne girls, they don't usually have a tipping system. That's more reserved for like the actual dancers and performers and whatnot. And so I had low expectations on what we were gonna get paid. It was, yeah, it's an hourly wage. I shouldn't say that I have low expectations. Maybe I shouldn't think that way, but I had no expectations. We'll say it like that, because there is a subtle difference between having low expectations and no expectations. Low expectations means that you expect the worst, which means that you are manifesting the worst, right? Because you get what you expect. But no expectations means that you are detached from the outcome. So you don't really care. You are just there for the experience. Like, you know that you're doing it just for your own self-growth, also that you don't depend on this thing for your validation. And so you're detached from the outcome. Like, if it turns out great, you're fine. If it turns out to be a dud, you're also going to be fine because you don't have any personal attachment to it. That's no expectations. And I feel like that was a bar. I need to clip that out later for a shorts video. But no, so it was even lower though than what I expected. So that's why I say it's important to have no expectations, not low expectations, because no means like zero. So it was more than zero, but it was less than what I thought. Okay, I thought for sure that it was going to be at least 10,000 yen. I don't know how much that converts to in USD at this point because the yen value has been in the trash since like COVID started. But let's just go by the 100 yen to $1 conversion rate because it's just easier that way to conceptualize. Because if you think about it, like 10,000 yen in Japan, it still has the same buying power in terms of what you could purchase with 10,000 yen here and what you could purchase with 100 USD in the US. Do you know what I mean? It's like the same, you know, if I was living in the US, I would earn 100 USD because I would be able to buy the same amount of things there with 100 USD as I would with 10,000 yen here, even though the conversion rate is all messed up now. So anyway, we'll just go with like 100 yen to 1 USD. I thought it would be at least $100, right? Because it's like a 4.5 hour shift. Come to find out, it's 9,000 yen. So like 90 US dollars for 4.5 hours. And I already knew going into this that probably, since it was the first time, so I did it for the experience, right? It's not for the money the first time at least. And you know, I'll do it a couple more times just to get my feet wet. And then if I really feel like it's not worth it later, then I'll figure something else out. But this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to like experience working in the nightlife industry for real, you know? Even if I feel like, okay, I'm not quite ready to be a dancer or a performer yet, I feel like this is something that I definitely want to experience for better or for worse, right? If it turns out that it really is not vibing with my vibe later on, then I can just stop anytime. Because I have a day job, right? Like I have an actual career, I have my social media stuff, like I'm good even if this doesn't work out. And I think that if you are at all curious or interested in this line of work, that should be the position from which you try it out, if at all possible. I know it's not always possible. Like some people actually are in a tight space or they really need that extra cash. But for me, like I purposely waited, I think, until I was stable before I decided to get into this. Because can you imagine, like, if I didn't have a steady job and if I didn't have my social media stuff, it would not be a good feeling to have had to deal with all of that for 4.5 hours at night too. So your sleep schedule gets messed up for only 9,000 yen. And plus, if you think about it, okay, let's get into the price breakdown. So I definitely ended up in the negative this time. I mean, technically speaking, not really, because all of these services would have been things that I would have gotten anyway, even if I didn't decide to be a champagne girl. But I would not have necessarily have gotten them so soon, right? Like for example, my nails. Like before my friend told me that we were going to go on the 14th, I was just waiting patiently for them to grow out. And I was researching salons because, you know, I work in Ginza now. So they have a lot of really great top notch salons in that area for everything: hair, nails, eyelashes. And so I was just taking my time researching which ones I like, looking through the pictures because I'm like very, very picky about nails, more so than the average person, even. And I actually think that these nails are like the worst nails I've ever gotten in a long time. But that was my fault because I kind of rushed it. I actually didn't do it for the Champagne Girl night specifically. I did it because I thought I was going to go to a second fashion show. I went to one fashion show last week or 2 weeks ago, and then I thought I was going to go to another one that weekend, but it turns out that the guy canceled on me, so I was like, okay, whatever. But I went and got my nails done that morning because I thought I was going to go to the fashion show. By that point, I already knew that the 14th was already scheduled in for me and my friend to go in as a champagne girl. So I thought, like, why not just get the nails out of the way now? But that was my mistake for rushing it because every time you make a last minute appointment, all of the good salons are already filled up. They're filled out like a week, 2 weeks in advance with their reservations, right? Because they're good. So it's always like the sketchy salons that are left over. So I went to one that is actually pretty near the one that I usually go to in Chofu. And I just got like magnet nails with these butterfly charms. And let me show you, like, I do not think these were worth the price that I paid for them. But again, it's my fault. And I just, when I say I don't like them, I'm not talking about the color or anything. I just feel like, okay, you can't see it from the camera. Like it looks fine through the video. But to me, I just don't like the craftsmanship. I feel like, I don't know, it's bumpy. It doesn't have like the exact thickness, the exact finish that I like. Yeah, like if you look at the edges near my cuticles, I feel like they're not perfectly straight. That's why I'm very picky with my nails. To me, there's a difference, maybe not to anyone else. And I know you can't really tell the difference in pictures, but to me, I need it to be like perfect. So I'm very picky about which nail technician that I actually go to. I'm willing to pay more just for like the subtle differences, you know, the subtle higher quality. But let me try and find the receipt for these nails. They were 8,800 yen, I remember, but I'm going to show you just so that you know I have receipts. So, I mean, this right there is basically what my entire paycheck for that night went to. So it was 8,800 yen, which is not worth it. You can get this for 6,000 yen easily at a better salon. And if you're a first time customer, usually they have a coupon that you can use. So I could have definitely gotten this for at most like 6,000, 7,000 yen if I wanted a really good job. Anyway, enough about the nails, man. So that already puts me at 9,000 minus 8,800 is 200 yen. And the only reason that my transportation was free because it's along the route that I go to for work anyway, like my day job. So I have a monthly pass, which means that I didn't have to pay anything for transportation. But like, imagine if I didn't have a day job with a commuter pass, though, then I would have had to pay for transportation both ways as well. So that alone would have brought the total down to like 8,000 yen for 4.5 hours of standing in heels. And like, keep in mind, we do our own makeup and hair and everything. I didn't even get my hair done this time either. Like I was contemplating getting another haircut, but it's been less than a month since my last one. So I was like, you know what? Let me just like wait until at least the 1 month mark because I don't want to go too overboard at this point, right? Like my day job pays me decently, but I don't want to fall into that lifestyle creep trap, right? Like I'm gonna treat myself nice things. Next time I get my nails done, I'm definitely gonna go to a much better salon. I don't mind paying more money. Like I complain about this 8,800 yen price point just because I don't think it's worth it for what I got. But I'm willing to pay up to like 20,000 yen for a really good set of nails. They have to be really good though. You know what I mean? They have to be like, the styles that you see on Instagram that are really popular now, the Asian style nails, like the ones with the Sanrio character charms or it's called a wanhon nail in Japanese. Actually, it's Chinese nails. So it's like Wang Hong in Chinese. That's how you pronounce it. Maybe I'll just show you. It's better. That's easier than trying to describe. It's like this style, with like the ribbons, and it's usually like some semi-clear pinky girly tone, but then they have just a few really big ostentatious accents, like huge heartstones or rhinestones, like very strategically placed. I like this style a lot. So I'm willing to pay up to 20,000 yen for a really good set of nails. And I will treat myself to like good salons, but I'm not going to go overboard. Like we don't need to get our hair cut more than once a month at most. Anyway, so I'm glad that I didn't invest more money than I did this time. You could technically say that, the nails don't count because I would have gotten them anyway. But yeah, I was thinking of buying like heels too because they said, oh, wear black heels basically. I don't have like heels, open-toed heels. I only have these black boots. So I had these boots, right? They're just like black. They have the height, the heel, but they're like booties and they zip up. So I was debating, should I get some more classic looking heels? I'm really glad that I didn't because I went with these and they were totally fine. The moment that I first got to the club, I was like, oh yeah, this place is not worth any more investment. In fact, I think it's quite fitting that I had like not so great quality nails for that place. It just matched the tackiness of Warped Shinjuku. I hope that no one that works there watches this video. I don't know. There's a chance that they might, but I actually don't care because I'm never gonna go back there again to work as a champagne girl or as anything, or even as a customer. See, this is the thing. Okay, so this is something that I realized. I do have to admit that the music and the dances were fire. So if I went there as a customer, I feel like my experience would be so vastly different. Like my feelings towards the club would be vastly different from what I feel having seen the back end of working as a champagne girl, like as an actual employee for that night anyway, even though like we were from a dispatch company, so we didn't know anyone at the club or anything. But yeah, I think my friend probably worked there before though, because she's a lot more connected. I don't think it's her day job, but she's been doing this for like 10 years, so she knows everyone in the Tokyo nightlife scene. But yeah, the customers were nice. Like nobody was super mean or nasty. There were a couple of moments though where I just like had no idea what to do because they would be giving me orders and it's like technically I'm only there to be the bottle girl. Like I'm only there to bring out the champagne and pour the champagne, and that was also very confusing to me because like I didn't know exactly like what was good timing for me to go in and pour or refill people's cups. Like a lot of these tables I don't think it was super packed, but there were a few pockets of time throughout the night where it got pretty busy, or like the people who bought the tables, who reserved the tables, they kept bringing in different they kept like interchanging the people that they invited to sit at their table. So they would come, for example, it would be like a group of 6 guys that come and maybe they all reserve the table together, right? But then, like later on, maybe after half an hour, half the guys would leave, but then they would bring in 5 new girls to come join them. And it would just keep rotating out like that for like 4 hours. Some of them stayed pretty long. And there was also this other guy who was having like his birthday party. And so that table had like tons and tons of people, like just an influx of people coming in and out the whole night. And I had no idea what to do. Actually, even my friend told me at one point, she was like, yeah, just let them do their own thing because they were taking care of everything on their own. They were like pouring their own champagne and shots and stuff. And it seemed like, it would have been more awkward if I tried to interject as one of the staff members to try and refill their cups because they were already having their own vibe, all the people coming to celebrate this guy's birthday. It was a really old guy too, like, he must have been at least in his 60s, but he had blonde hair, so I guess maybe he was in the entertainment industry or something. There was a moment throughout the night where somebody dropped the cake, like his birthday cake, so that he had a little birthday cake. It wasn't a big one, it's just like I remember that cake was sitting there for at least 2 hours because nobody was eating it. But then again, like I was saying, they kept rotating out different people, or like, people would come drop in at different times to give the guy a birthday present. And so by the fourth iteration, like the fourth group of new girls and guys that came in, somebody started eating the cake, which was already sitting there for 2 hours, mind you. So I was like, okay, if it was me, I would not, but who am I? I'm gonna stay out of it because this is not my problem. It's not my party. So they started eating the cake, and then at one point, I didn't see this happen, but I remember I turned away. I was probably like really vibing with one of the DJ sets, and then I turned back, and then somebody had spilled the cake onto the couch. So I went over to the one of the guys, like standing behind the register, and I was like, someone spilled cake on the couch. So they had to bring in a guy with a mop and everything. But then, like, before the guy could come to clean up the cake, the people in that group were still like, some of the people were taking their spoons and eating the cake from off of the couch. Ghetto. Like I told you, okay? Just ghetto all around. And I also, like, I swear I saw someone do a line of, what is it? Like the white powdery stuff. Is that cocaine? Cuz like I don't know. I'm like 16. I've never seen I have never seen drugs in my life. I've never seen anyone do drugs in front of me, IRL. Like, not even in movies, because I'm trying to remember a movie or a TV show or something where I saw this depicted, and I don't even remember because I don't watch movies like that. Girl Interrupted. Do they do drugs in that movie? I don't know. I've never watched Uninterrupted. Girl Interrupted. The one with Angelina Jolie, right? I've only watched like the iconic scenes on YouTube. But yeah, like I swear somebody did a line of cocaine in front of me. Like he was sniffing it through his nose. Oh, there was a group of Americans that came. So it was like Americans, but then half of them were either Chinese American or just Asian American. I don't know what exactly each member was, but yeah, there was like three Asian American guys and then one Dominican looking or like mixed looking girl, and then two blonde girls that were, I could tell from the accent they were from somewhere in Europe. So they had like a table, and then the Dominican looking girl, because she looked very like put together. The guy that bought the table, which was one of the Asian American guys, he was telling me how, oh, like we all work in finance. And then he was asking me, so is this your main job? Do you have a day job? And I told him, no, I work in cybersecurity. This is actually my first time as a bottle girl. I just wanted to try it out and maybe earn some extra money on the side. And he was like, oh yeah, like my friend, he's pointing at the Dominican girl. He's like, oh yeah, she's in cybersecurity too. But she looked like super classy, like professional type, even though she was in like a cute little tube jumper suit. She was like ready for the club, but she still looked very classy. Like I could definitely imagine her on Wall Street or something. I don't know if that's her actual job. But then like 2, 3 hours into the night, she was like so drunk. She was stumbling around, and then I remember she asked me like, "Where's the bathroom?" So I pointed her to the bathroom. I'm like, "It's just outside. Like, go step over that ledge and then go to the left." But then she wasn't like, by the time she stepped outside of the VIP section, I could see her. She was just like completely disoriented. I don't think she knew where she was. Her friends were taking care of her the entire night though, so I wasn't too worried about her. But then like I also saw her crying in a corner just about something. I don't know if it was because she was sick or if it was because of some emotionally charged thing that happened. So yeah, lots of things going on. um I was like, okay. I mean, it didn't affect me, right? And it wasn't, nothing ever escalated to anything serious, but I was just like, wow, are you guys like for real right now doing Molly or cocaine or whatever it is, like out in the open and spilling the cake on the couch, but still eating it from the couch as if a million different butts haven't been there throughout the years that this place has been in business. Oh, the back rooms of the club were filthy because we had to go into they didn't even have a changing room. It's just like this back office thing, right? Where they just have an explosion of everything, like documents. There were people sitting there in business suits when we arrived. I guess those were like, people involved in the business side of the club. They were very unfriendly too, because this is very typical of like that area, Shinjuku, Kabukicho. Like they were not friendly. We went in, we were like, oh hi, good morning. We say ohayo gozaimasu, which means good morning in Japanese. Obviously, we're not coming in the morning, but it's just like a greeting because we're starting work, right? So we're saying our greetings to everyone, but then some of them like don't even look up and don't even acknowledge us, which is fine. Their problem, not mine. But no, that back room was filthy though. There was like costumes all over the place. There was barely any room to move. I still have, oh my god, so this is the bag that I took, right? That I brought my shoes and everything in, and it still smells like the club. It's like a mixture of mostly smoke and then just like a bunch of different perfumes mixed together. It's not pleasant. So I'm glad that I didn't bring, I was about to bring my Vivian Westwood bag. I have a big one, a tote, and I'm glad I didn't bring that one because it's too good for Warp Shinjuku. This bag is fine because this was a cheap one that I got on sale. It's like totally synthetic. Some of the guys like really had an attitude. I'm talking about the male staff. But the thing is, I was thinking to myself, there was a moment where I was like, girl, what are you doing? Like, you're in your 30s and trying to start off as a champagne girl and work your way up the nightclub ladder. Like, you should have done this in your 20s. Like, there was a moment when I was kind of thinking that to myself. But ultimately, I do think that this is like the best way for me to experience it. Because I can tell you, if I was trying to do this in my 20s, those people would have really gotten to me, or not those people, like no particular person was really mean or nasty or anything. That's just the way they are, right? That's what I understand now as a woman in my 30s who has like straightened out her self-concept and healed a lot of her wounds. My self-confidence is through the roof, right? So I know that if anyone decides to act any type of way towards me or give me any sort of attitude, that's not a reflection on me, it's a reflection on them. Unless I'm also engaging in the negativity and toxicity, has nothing to do with me. As far as everything is concerned, the night went off without a hitch, but there were definitely like I could feel some moments where the like some of the male staff actually, they're just very jaded, I guess, because this is like their main job. So I'm sure they're there every day. They're used to like hot shots and people dressed to the nines. Like they're not phased by how hot you are or how much money you have or any of that stuff. They've seen it all. They're very jaded. They don't care. They're just there to collect their check. And so yeah, some of them, there was like two of the male staff. There was three male staff that was like in the VIP section working with us. And then two of them, it's crazy how it's like the male staff, right? This is truly the sassy man apocalypse. And that's another reason why I take it even less seriously, because I'm like, you are supposed to be a man. Like you're supposed to be watching out for the girls, but instead you have this like petty little competition minded with the women that you're working with because that's how emasculated you are. Like I actually feel sorry for you. But yeah, they would just like and again, I know that this was nothing personal, but they would be like, oh, make sure that you do it this way, or like make sure that you don't move the bottle up and down when the what's it called? Fireworks sprinklers attached to it because that could be dangerous, blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, like that stuff is fine, they're telling me, they're giving me like tips on how to do the job well. But like there was this one guy who, okay, sorry, I think I got distracted and I never finished this story. So it's not a big deal or anything, but I just wanted to explain, just to let you know, like how different my mindset is now compared to what it would have been when I was an insecure little 25-year-old, So again, nothing serious at all, but this guy just had somewhat of an attitude. Like, for example, when I found myself with nothing to do at times, like it was, slower times throughout the night and nobody exactly needed their drinks refilled. Nobody was particularly ordering any new bottles. So I would just kind of like, chill out. And he would kind of take the opportunity to tell me, oh, make sure you check in on that table. Like, this is your section that you're responsible for. So just check in on all the tables here, which is like, okay, fine. I have no problem with you saying that to me, even though clearly we both can see that nobody needs any help. But if it makes you feel better or feel like you have control over me or that you're above me to say that to me, then fine. I'm not going to let it affect me. But then it's like, okay, another instance in the night though, when I see him cleaning up after a group that has just left, when I proactively go up to him and actually offer to help clean the table with him, he gets an attitude with me in that situation as well and is like, no, no, I don't need your help. Like rolling his eyes and acting kind of annoyed with me. So it's like, okay, you're just committed to having an attitude then. No matter what the situation is, no matter if I'm trying to help, if I'm not helping with the cleaning, like clearly this has nothing to do with me at this point, right? You've just proven it mathematically by the fact that you get an attitude, regardless of what action that I take, regardless of if I breathe or hold my breath. You know what I mean? And so I really love how once you fully develop your self esteem and your self concept, once you become that truly warm blooded animal, you can really just rely on the mathematics of the situation. You can rely on the logic to just see or expose people for who they really are. Expose the situation for what it really is, I should say. And yeah, I hope that makes sense. I don't want to go on too long about it, but I just thought I would throw that bit in there for anyone who is still struggling with maybe dealing with difficult people or just how to hold your own, like how to not be affected by other people's negativity. This is how you do it, by thinking about it mathematically. If you notice that this person catches an attitude or is not happy no matter what you do, then that's proof right there that it has nothing to do with you. The cause is not you. They are just committed to being a sourpuss. So let them be a sourpuss by themselves in the corner, while you continue being your fabulous, happy, go lucky self, okay? Wowing people with your champagne skills, with your bilingual skills. Yeah, basically that's what I wanted to say. The VIP section was kind of how do I describe this? It's like you walk in and then it was kind of like split off at a right angle, right? So there would be like tables. How do I describe this visually? You walk in and it's like this. So on this side, there were 3 tables, and then on this side, there were like 6 tables. So my friend is standing on this side, taking care of the people in those tables, and then I'm standing on this side. And then the American group were the ones that were at the table at the farmost corner of this side. I felt like a lot better with them there, to be honest with you, because I don't like Japanese customers at all. They're rude AF, especially the ones in Tokyo. And like I've always known this. This is why I refuse to ever get into the service industry here. It's not worth it for anyone, not even Japanese people. What is the merit in doing customer service in Japan? You get minimum wage, no tips, no basic human decency or respect. 0 out of 10 do not recommend. They still have this mentality that the customer is king. They don't treat customer service people as if they're human. So people, like for example, the space was extremely narrow, right? So every time, like, people are moving back and forth all the time, like coming in and out of the VIP room and just like moving around trying to talk to other people. People would just literally push me out of the way. Both the customers and servers, like male and female. I thought the female, actually, you know what? The girls were better than the guys, right? Because girls normally are not that aggressive. I mean, sometimes they can be, but I just remember distinctly, like I got pushed quite a number of times throughout the night by male customers. And of course, I don't care. Like as long as you are not physically assaulting me. I know that this is just how they act in Japan. This is why I never wanted to get into the service industry. But yeah, like they'll just push you and they act as if you are not there. You're below them because you're a service person, right? But then as soon as the group of Americans came in, I remember I was kneeling down. I was like refilling their champagne glasses. And then one of the guys, the American guys, stepped on the heel of my boot. So it didn't hurt or anything, but he's just kind of like tripped over me because the space is so narrow. And he was like, "Oh my God, like I'm so sorry, I didn't see you there." I'm like, "Oh no, it's fine. Like you didn't. It wasn't big enough to cause me to spill anything. Like it was totally fine. It didn't hurt." But then he apologized again. He apologized like 2 or 3 times. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, are you okay? I promise I didn't see you there." I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's fine." But it just felt really good to me because I was like, these are my people. As much as people like to shit on Americans, for some reason that's a trend. People like to shit on Americans abroad for their lack of manners or their lack of respect for the culture. But I'm like, no, actually, there are some merits to Americans, okay? Especially in like a club environment. So I really appreciated that. Like it made me feel like these are my people. And then I was very happy to serve them. And they would actually talk to me as a human being, right? Because I was telling you, the guy that, like the main guy that, I don't know if he was the main guy that purchase the table or anything, but the one that was like the most outgoing, he kept talking to me and asking me about like, "Oh, so like how long have you been here? Oh, you're American too, so like what do you think about corporate life in Japan?" Just like asking me questions like a normal human being, which the Japanese customers will not do with you because they don't see you as a human being. But you know what, let me be fair, there's nice people too. See, I need to check myself because as humans, we just tend to focus on the negative. So there were definitely some really kind customers. Like, for example, the first customer that one of the first customers in the night, so he was seated on my friend's side of the VIP section. But every time that they called us to bring out the champagne glasses and the bottles, I would always do it with my friend. So it would always be two of us, and then we would come with the bells and the sprinklers and whatnot. And then like people would be, taking out their phones and filming. And so yeah, the second customer of the night, he went to like the far right where my friend was situated. And then when we brought the champagne bottles to him, that was my first time in life ever opening a champagne bottle. You guys, I have grown from this experience, okay? Even if that is the only skill that I take away from this, I'm happy because I learned something new. I never opened a champagne bottle before in my life. I actually, okay, this tells you how clueless I was, how much of a baby I am when it comes to this stuff because I don't drink, right? I don't know anything about like which alcohol brands are. I don't know the tiers, like which one are lower tier, which ones are middle, which ones are high. I only know Armand, and then maybe I forgot already. I feel like there's a really famous one, Moe. Anyway, so I thought that opening a champagne bottle was the same thing as opening a wine bottle because when my friend asked me like, "You've opened a champagne bottle before, right?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I have." But then I was like, "Wait a minute, I think so." Because I remember opening a wine bottle before where you put the like the spiral thingy into the cork and you pull it out. I thought that that was the same deal with a champagne bottle. I've seen my parents do it before, right? Like my mom and my dad when they would host parties or go to parties with their friends and then they would bring me along when I was a little kid. But then I was like, "Oh wait, those were wine bottles, not champagne bottles." Because the champagne bottle like pops out. Anyway, so you don't need a tool to open the champagne bottle. You just open the foil and then you like untwist the metal cage thingy that they have. You have to be careful when you take the metal cage off, so that because sometimes the cork will pop. So you have to like keep your finger on the cork while you're taking the metal cage off, and then you let it pop, right? So the first champagne, I'm talking about. I'm focusing on the customers that were very nice throughout that night because they're the ones that deserve my attention, not the ones that like had weird attitudes. No, the customers on a whole were fine. Like nobody gave me any attitude. But two of the male staff, I was like, okay, I don't F with you because they were just being little bitches basically. But you just give them the same energy back and they leave you alone. Like that's seriously all it is. Which is why I'm glad that I did this at 35 instead of 25. Because if I was 25, like those people, those kinds of people would have devoured me. Okay. Like it would have really, really messed with my sense of self worth. I know it sounds silly, but it's just like very interesting for me because I think about this is the type of situation that makes me think about how far I've actually come, you know? Because like when we're living our daily day-to-day lives, we feel like we're not changing, we feel like we're not growing because it's happening at such a slow pace. Like you cannot really detect the changes necessarily day to day, but putting myself in a situation like this and that's kind of one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this as well because I feel like it's one of the few frontiers that I have not experienced or that I've not put myself out there in that I always wanted to deep down, if that makes sense. And I don't want to live my life with any regrets or any thought of what could have been or I wish I could have experienced that, but I never did. So I'll tell you another one, which is very random, but being a flight attendant is actually also something that like I've always, just as a little girl, I've always wanted to know what that was like. I don't know if that necessarily is going to happen because I don't think the flight attendant lifestyle necessarily suits me right now, but I don't know. Never say never, right? What was I saying though? Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why specifically why I wanted to do this, like experience working in nightlife because I knew that it would show me how far I've come in terms of like my self-confidence and my self-concept. When I was put into not difficult situations, but when I come across like situations in the past that would have been very daunting to me. So even just being in a nightclub environment, right? And talking to all these people, they're very stylish. A lot of them are very, very good looking. They have money. It's intimidating, especially when you're younger, right? And especially when you're dealing with all of these thoughts about, oh, am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? Everyone else around me is so glamorous. Like, how come I just can't seem to measure up? I don't think like that at all about myself anymore. But there was a time when I also had to go through that growth and that journey, right? And so I knew that if I like putting myself into that environment now where I know so completely, like so fully who I am. It doesn't mean that I'm like invincible. It doesn't mean that I don't have any emotions, but I just like I have much thicker skin now. And I also know that my self-worth is not determined by what other people outside of me say. Actually, it's the complete opposite. Any behavior or treatment that people demonstrate towards you, I now know that it's a complete projection, right? In 99% of cases, unless you're really the one doing something wrong, which I know I'm not, obviously. So I knew that like it was going to be one of those experiences for me that like everything that could possibly happen right now with everything that I know now with my current self concept and self love and sense of self worth, it's all gonna just roll like it's gonna roll off my back. Even if somebody was directly in my face berating me, which didn't happen, but I was prepared even for the worst case scenario. And I knew that I was gonna walk out of there totally fine. Whereas before, I might have eventually gotten there, but it would have bothered me for like a day or a week or something. It would have really gotten to me on a personal level. Whereas now, like in my 30s, being super confident in who I am and having a great sense of self worth, it barely registers at all, right? Even if someone is being nasty to me, it's just like, okay, kind of uncomfortable in the moment, because nobody likes to deal with those types of people. But once it's gone, once it's passed, and once they see that they cannot get to you, they'll typically drop it. That's just human nature, right? I was going to say that's how predators are, but I mean, we all have the ability to be a predator within us. We've all been in situations where we could be victimized. It's just what humans do. So yeah, that customer, when I was trying to open the first champagne bottle that I've ever opened in my life, he saw me struggling with it, and I was like, yeah, you know, it's my first day, so just like be nice, be kind to me. That's I literally said like be nice to me. I said, what did I say in Japanese? Yasashi me de mite kudasai. Look at me with kind eyes, please. And then he was like, okay, just give me the bottle. And then he opened it for me. This is also nice too. Like some of the customers would invite us to drink some of their champagne with them. So that guy, he was there early anyway. Like he was the only one at the table. And I think he was just waiting for his group of friends or whoever to come. So he was like not in a rush or anything. And he was like, yeah, let me just pour this for you. Like you guys take a toast with me. And then later he was like, you know, that champagne bottle was really hard. Like the cap was really stuck in there. So that was not your fault, just so you know. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. Whether it's true or not, I feel like it's true because it actually was really stuck. Because the other bottles that I opened throughout the night, they popped off relatively quickly. Like some of them actually even popped off to where it was so fast that I couldn't even catch the cap. So like you have to be careful with that because like thankfully nobody got hurt. Nobody was hit with a champagne bottle cap, but next time I'm gonna have to make sure that I really like press my hand on top of it because you don't want projectile objects to be flying through the air and possibly injuring a customer. But yeah, that was really nice that he said that to me. And then the group of Americans were like really, really nice and sociable. One of the European girls, she spoke English, so she was really nice and she asked for my Instagram. She just kept talking to me. Like I mean, everyone was kind of drunk, but I think she just wanted someone to talk to. So she kept talking to me like over and over again. But I was trying to, I don't know, I didn't want to come off as I was goofing around with the customers. Like it's fine to make some conversation, but I don't know, it's Japan. So you have to, this is what I don't like about Japan, because you always have to make this superficial show of like, oh, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm trying really hard. Even though you're only trying 80%, you have to make it look like you're trying 100% on the outside. That's just the game that everyone plays. And you're expected to get with the program if you really want to integrate into society here. So it's a little tip for all of you. I mean, I don't know how many, I don't know how big the demographic for, you know, people that want to, or girls that want to get into the nightlife industry in Japan is, but if you happen across this video, that's just a little tip for you. Obviously you have to speak Japanese, you know, but I think next time, like, cause my friend was saying that we can try a bunch of different clubs in different areas. So I'm thinking Ginza, Roppongi. If I go to the clubs in Roppongi, I feel like that might just fit me better. It would be more comfortable for me because that's where a lot of the foreigners tend to congregate. I can't believe I'm saying this because I like always historically thought Roppongi was a very trashy area. It kind of is. But like now that I'm looking at it through the context of working as a bottle girl, I see I gained a new appreciation for Roppongi because that's where the foreigners go to. So I would feel like much more comfortable in that environment, you know, even though there's obviously still Japanese patrons, but I would feel like, okay, it's more of an international clientele. so I can speak English to the customers, and that would also be looked favorably upon by the club owners, right? Because it would I would seem more helpful that way as a bilingual person, etc. And so, yeah, Warp Shinjuku was just not my jam, but it was a good experience. What else? Yeah, so the guy that helped me open my champagne bottle, the group of Americans, they were really friendly. There was one more. I'm trying to remember. Oh, there was another guy. So there was a separate room like behind some curtains that I didn't see at first, but like all the way in the back of my friend's side of the VIP room, there was a room cushioned seating, right? So you had to take off your shoes, and there was like a lounge area with low sofas and pillows and stuff. So that there was another table there. And then the group that sat there, one of the guys asked me if I could bring some chopsticks. But since my boots are like zip up, I had to, you have to like take your boots off, right? To go near that table. So we first brought the champagne to them. And then like after we poured the champagne, I had to go back and put my boots on, zip them on, and then go get chopsticks. And then when I went back, I was like unzipping my boots again so that I could step onto the ledge to go deliver the chopsticks to him. But then he saw me first and he like ran, he like jumped up and ran to me and he was like, no, like don't take your shoes off again. Like you don't have to do all that. Like thanks for bringing the chopsticks. So that was really nice. So yeah, in total, I mean, if you want to look at the numbers tally, there were more nice, compassionate people than there were like nasty or just unaware people. I'm not going to call them nasty. I'm just going to say that they're unaware. And so we don't need to focus on the unaware people. But no, Warp Shinjuku is trashy. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. DJ sets were fire though. Dance performances were fire. They had like, okay, first of all, the costumes were amazing. I think there was like an Egyptian themed dance, and then there was like a burlesque dance. There were 2 girls that came out in these really frilly Marie Antoinette type costumes. It looked really, really high quality. And then they also had these 2 guys in astronaut gear come out and like spray the crowd with confetti. The DJ sets were so good. Oh my god. You know what? The music honestly is what got me through like the slow pockets throughout the night, because I wasn't expecting us to not have access to our phones at all. I mean, I brought my phone to the VIP room, and then my friend brought like a little purse, but we just put them in a corner and then we never like checked them again. I feel like I could have if I wanted to, but I didn't want to. Like, what's the point anyway, right? I'm not gonna be able to spend a long time on my phone. And then they said that also we were supposed to get a bottle of water each, which they didn't give to us. I guess I didn't notice because I kept getting invited to drink champagne with some of the guests at the tables, and so technically I got my liquids in. But you guys know I'm not a drinker at all, so I would feel bad because like I literally can only take 1 or 2 sips. They would fill the whole glass up and I'm like, yeah, sorry, I can only take 1 or 2 sips, and I would like bring it away to pretend that I was gonna finish it later, but I would just like pour it down the sink. Yeah. I'm trying to think, is there anything like crazy? No, we got the girl puking. We got the cake spilled on the couch that people still ate out of directly. Like y'all are nasty AF. Okay, you're not fooling me with those 3-piece suits and whatnot and your black Visa cards. Y'all are nasty. Get some decorum. Don't eat a cake off a couch. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't even do that in my own house, where my bum is the only bum that has been on that couch. Like what the actual F? Um, there was that guy snorting that line of coke, like right in front of me. This is how naive I am. I really thought in my head, I thought that, okay, is that like salt or sugar or something? Because surely this doesn't happen in real life, but apparently it happened. No one else saw it, so I don't know. Like, am I supposed to report something like that? Is it legal? I know that marijuana is legal now, but I don't even know. Maybe I should brush up on the laws pertaining to drugs and stuff, like certain substances in Japan, because that might be useful to know to work in the nightclub industry. Oh, another thing, another tip that I took for next time that I should definitely do is that I should look up the menu of drinks of whatever club I'm going to be working at beforehand, because I was like very confused at certain moments throughout the night when people would ask for these obscure drinks, because I don't drink, right? So like I don't know what anything is. All things considered, it wasn't that crazy. Like somebody asked for a vodka Red Bull, which is fine because like I recognize those words, even though like I personally have never ordered or drank or seen a vodka Red Bull. I know those words, So that was fine. But then someone asked for like ryokcha hai, which ryokcha means like green tea, not matcha, like clear green tea. And then hai means chuhai, which is a alcoholic beverage in Japan. It means like bitter or something. I don't know what it means. You can buy cans of Chuhai at the convenience store. They have like 3%, 5% alcohol content. So Ryokcha Hai is like that, except with green tea, you know? I know those words separately, but like I've never heard them together before, if you know what I mean. So it didn't register in my brain. Like even though I had the guy repeat it to me, the poor guy, 3 or 4 times, but like I could not figure out what he was saying. And I was like, what is that? Like rock high? And then the bartender guy at the register was like, there's no such thing. And I'm like, okay, but can you go ask him what he wanted then? Because I don't know. Later I realized that, oh, it would have been useful if I looked up the menu beforehand. Because I was watching like videos also about bottle girls vlogs of this girl. She was talking about how she had training for 3 days. And I was like, damn, I'm not going to get any training. I don't know if that's just because my friend has a direct connect to everyone in the industry. So, I mean, she's basically the reason why I could work with her directly. But I don't know, like, if I had just gone about this myself and reached out to clubs by myself, would they have trained me or would they have just like thrown me in there? I feel like they would have just thrown me in there because especially with the Tokyo nightlife scene, it's really not that serious. Maybe the high-end clubs would have some sort of training, but again, since I'm being introduced to these gigs by my friend, I think they already have a level of respect with her, so they'll just take her word for it that I'm ready for the job, right? So I don't know if like does that actually work in my favor or is it bad? I guess there's pros and cons to each approach. Either way, it's one of those jobs that you have to pick things up as you go anyway because I can't imagine that studying a lot about what you have to do. I mean, it's good to be prepared. It's always good to do your research beforehand and watch videos, watch how-to tutorials, read some tips beforehand, but that's never going to replace the value that you get from actually like that's not going to help you actually do the thing in person, if you know what I mean. The only thing that's going to help you get used to the actual ins and outs of the job is if you do it over and over again a couple of times. It's just like putting reps in at the gym. And so, yeah, I watched a video right before going to the club, and the girl was giving tips about how to succeed or just how to not be blindsided your first time on the job. And she was saying, oh, make sure like you don't have to know everything, but just make sure you know the different types of liquor or vodka or whatever that are out there, and just at least know the big ones like Grey Goose or Armand. But she listed like 50 different alcohol labels, and I was like, okay, I can't memorize all of this within a span of like the 20 minutes before I'm supposed to show up. So I'm just gonna follow my friend's lead. But then when I got to the venue, I was like, oh, they should have given us a menu beforehand, right? Wouldn't that be helpful if they gave us the drinks menu or like the layout of the club? So they gave us the layout of the club. And I also watched another girl in her tips video talk about how, especially if it happens to be a bigger club or one that's kind of more maze-like in its construction, if it's a new club that she'd never been to before, right? She would always save the floor map of the club as her screensaver on her phone, just in case that she needed to glance really quickly. But then, like, see, we weren't even allowed to have our phones with us, though. So how would that have helped? I wish we could have had our phones with us. Yeah, I didn't save the floor map as my screensaver or anything, but I had it in my camera roll, and it would have been helpful because there were a couple of people that did ask me throughout the night where the bathroom was, and like I didn't know, which is no big deal because I just asked another staff, and then he told me. So then after that, I knew. But yeah, I was thinking like, oh, they should have given us the drinks menu beforehand. But then I was like, wait a minute, I could literally just look that up myself online. So that's what I'm gonna do next time. Before the next club, I'll just look up their drinks menu and like memorize it. That way I'm not gonna be caught like a deer in headlights when they ask for a drink that I've never heard of in my life. Because I don't drink any of those alcoholic beverages, okay? The only thing I know how to say is ginger ale and like jasmine tea or something. But no, it was cool. It's good for a training ground, the Tokyo club scene. Like, you're not going to make any tips, but it's a good experience. And I don't want to say any more about future plans or whatever, because This is one of those things, it's just I wanna keep it, like, strictly for fun, you know? Because if I try to make it into something serious, then it's just not gonna be fun anymore, and also, I'm gonna lose my motivation, so I'll just let you guys know as things progress, how it goes, and then, yeah, we'll see. Oh, the outfits that they gave us were really, really bad. They were, like, so cheap, but they okay, it was just this hot pink dress, like, neon pink. It wasn't that bad, but it was pretty bad. It was, like, super wrinkled. The dress was so short because it was a stretchy material, so when I took it out of the bag, I was like, "I'm gonna have my entire ass hanging out," and I didn't bring black shorts or anything. That's another thing next time I'm gonna be prepared with just in case. I don't think I'll need it, but just in case, I'm gonna bring some short black shorts in case the outfit is, like, super revealing or things are hanging out. But yeah, no, this was the dress that they gave us. It had stretched, so in the end, it was fine. My ass wasn't hanging out or anything, but when I was holding it in my hands, I was like, "This is definitely not long enough." Oh, yeah, and another thing I had to buy was a nude bra, which I also don't think I really needed now looking back, but this is what my friend suggested to me. So I got one of these. I've never worn, like, a full silicone bra like this. I only ever wear the nipple patches. Is this live gonna get flagged for adult for adult language? I have, like am I really gonna take these off on camera? Yeah, it doesn't matter. I usually use these. Especially in the summer, because it's, like, too hot to wear a bra, okay? And also, my girls be perky, you know? They're, like, pretty big and perky, if I do say so myself. So I don't think I necessarily need the entire shebang to be covered. Like, I coulda just gone with the ones that I already had, is what I'm trying to say. With this particular dress, I am glad that I had this, though, because I guess it just gives a little more, like, something more for the dress to grip to. It was a tube dress, so even though the stretch was pretty like, it was stretchy, so it hugged my body pretty tightly, so it never fell down or anything throughout the night, but I heard that that can be a problem sometimes depending on the outfit that they give you. You wanna be prepared for any possible wardrobe malfunctions, right? Especially since, like, we're carrying the bottles like this and then ringing the bell. Both of our hands are full the whole time, so you definitely don't want your dress to be sliding down as you're doing that. I'm trying to calculate. Okay, so we have the 8,800 yen nails so far. I'm gonna pull out my calculator and see how much in the minus I went to for this first time Champagne Girl experience. And then I bought this last minute on Amazon. I think it was like 1,000 yen or something. Oh, it was 980 yen, but I had Amazon points. But no, I mean, it still counts as 980 yen, right? So that's how much I paid for the bra. And then I also got, I remembered this last minute as well. I had to get a razor and shaving cream because I usually don't shave, like, at all, really, but mostly my underarms because I don't wear sleeveless shirts, sleeveless tops to work. I'm trying to find my receipt for the razor and the shaving cream that I bought. Okay, it's not here. We'll just say it was 1,000 yen, so I came out to negative 1,780 yen. But it's for the experience, you know? If you don't count the nails, if you wanna go by the logic or the girl math that I would have gotten nails anyway, we'll add back 8,800 yen. That's how much I made. But then if you think about it, like, okay, so how much was it for an hour? It was 9,000 divided by 4.5. It's 2,000 yen per hour. But if you think about it, it was a lot more than 4.5 hours because I had to wait like half an hour for the first train to be available. And again, we're not even counting like the makeup and hair costs. Because my makeup is expensive, you know? I've been using my Tom Ford and my expensive glitter and all of that. And my contacts, okay, that's another integral part of the look. And my lashes. That's where the real cost comes in, right? They should pay for our hair and makeup, I'm thinking. But that was my experience as a Champagne Girl at Shinjuku Warp. Don't go to that club. Don't support it. I want it to close down. Yeah. It was just gross. Okay. Like, I don't know. There was just debris all over the floor. It smelled horrible. It's just this stench of smoke that you can never get out of your clothes. It was all over my hair, my clothes, my bag, which still smells like it to this day. It's been like 3 days since Yeah, it's Monday now, so we're 3 days out and my bag still smells like that. And this is not even like a permeable material. This is just vinyl plastic, but yet somehow the smell is still stuck on there. Gross. But the music was fire though. Yeah, I was getting lit to the music. Oh, another thing that I found was so interesting. So I noticed this at a bunch of the clubs I went to actually over the past 4 years only that I've been going to clubs. And I guess this is, you can say that, I mean, there's a version of this in every single club, but in Tokyo in particular, there's a certain swagger that all of the guys going to the club have. Like, I'm talking about the regular customers or the high rollers, the ones that get the VIP seats anyway, because that's the only ones that I was interacting with for that night. And the bouncers, like all the male staff at the clubs, they all have this uniform swagger to them. It's really interesting. Like, it doesn't matter what size they are or what build they are. It could be a bouncer with the really muscular body type, or it could be one of those like super slender bartender K-pop looking guys. They all have a certain, I don't know what to call it. I mean, I guess it is kind of attractive in some way, but it's like not desperate, if that makes sense. Or it's kind of like you're just like I can't do it. They walk around like they're ready to mosh at any moment. They're ready to jump into a mosh pit at any moment. Am I making sense at all? Oh my god, is this 2008? Like, we're gonna go to the Fall Out Boy concert and we're gonna mosh in the mosh pit? No, but like that's the vibe that they were all giving me. It's probably like a combination of being high and jaded and having your sleep schedule messed up permanently because of your job, but then also like the really, really good music, the really good DJ sets that they had, because people were getting like super lit to the music, which is what you want. I mean, that's the whole point of going to the club, right? That's what you want to happen. I think you've succeeded in your job as a DJ if you manage to do that. So, yeah, I really like music, in case you can't tell. I really, really appreciate people who can put together a nice beat. But no, they were just, oh my God, the transitions were so smooth. And like every person had their own distinct flavor. I could tell when the music switched from one DJ to another. There weren't any like huge breaks where there weren't any huge stretches of silence. It felt like one long continuous set playing throughout the entire night. But I'm sure, like, I know for a fact that in between they kept changing people like 5 or 6 times, right? So I don't know how they worked that all out, but I could tell exactly when it switched to a different DJ, somebody else's style. I need to start learning how to DJ. I think this is truly, maybe this was like the true reason of why I was meant to experience this. It was to remind me that I have to get on my DJing stint. So yeah, that was my first experience as a bottle girl, champagne girl in Tokyo. Kabukicho is trash. Don't go. Don't support the industry. I hope the next club that I go to is either in Roppongi or Ginza because I feel much more comfortable in that environment. It was very, very hectic too, like just one of those hectic clubs. I mean, it makes sense. That area has a lot of foot traffic. So the line was already like out the door, like down the block. By the time I reached the venue, which was 11:30, that's when we were scheduled to go in. Yeah, people were already like lined up. And then when the club closed as well, nobody left. Like everyone was just still there, like hanging around in the smoke and the silence. And there were people like drunk, passed out on the street before I even went in. So like this was at 11 p.m. I saw people like passed out on cardboard boxes on the street. And I couldn't tell if they were homeless or club goers or both. Probably both. Just ghetto all around. So ghetto. What is this shit? You would never see this type of shit in Dubai. I swear. What is going on? Why does everyone think that Tokyo is so like high tech and high class? I mean, yeah, to be fair, okay, if you go to the swankier places like Ginza, you can find that type of a vibe. But even Roppongi too, like Roppongi is pretty trashy. I've been in the club district in Roppongi at 3, 4 a.m. and it's not a pretty sight either. But I can't believe I'm saying this. I think it's slightly better than what you would see in Kabukicho because that was just like total trash all around. And even not just that area, like all the way up until you walk all the way along the path to Shinjuku station, which is where I had to take the train back to my house. There were just people passed out everywhere. There's debris and trash everywhere, littered all over the streets in Kabukicho. Like, it's disgusting, for real. I don't see what the hype is. But anyway, I'll catch up with you guys later. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.